Do you have a long list of things to do in your business? Are you not quite sure which one should take a priority? Simply put, do you want more time to get more done in the best and most strategic way? Welcome to the Jasmine Star Show. My name is Jasmine Star, and I empower seven-figure entrepreneurs to scale to 8. And today I want to talk about a common struggle: productivity and prioritization. Those two double P's. Today I want to talk about both. And for years, I have struggled with having way too many things to do. I don't know about you, but do you ever walk out of like a CVS or Dwayne Reed and you have like 18 feet of a receipt? That's my daily to-do list. And so I started asking myself, what could I do that I would get the strongest and the fastest results? Is there a framework or something that I would be able to do to encourage me to prioritize what I should be doing next in a very long list? So during my last in-person mastermind that I hosted in Newport Beach, as a side note, I host a mastermind for female entrepreneurs who are making 7 figures scaling to 8. And I shared with them my prioritization framework. And I did it as a live exercise. So if you're listening to the podcast or watching it, if you want to do this exercise, I would love for you to do it right alongside of us. All you have to do is pause and then unpause whenever you're ready to move forward. So I'm going to share a video snippet from that event and what we did. And I want you to put yourself in the room. So let's get started with that video now.
I want to walk through a few things to get us on the same page about what we can expect. So this is the story of my life. Yesterday, Jade, our COO, who you will meet, we're going to get a breakdown of how we started working together, what I started working with, and then now what she does in the organization. I picked her up yesterday from the airport, and she was asking about JD, and she's asking about Luna, how things are going. And I said, we might be doing like a co-op homeschool program, because homeschooling for us is, she's just so much of a boss. Like, she has her way of doing things. And we joke in our home, which is going to be a nightmare, I'm sure. The hierarchy in our house is a flat line. Our daughter, her dad, and her mom are all the same. And so I was saying that when JD was trying to go through and trace letters and things of that nature, that there was 3 lines of letters. And he had said, okay, we're gonna outline A each row. And she progressed slower and slower, so that by the 3rd line, her head is on the table, and she says in Spanish, "Daddy, grab my hand and trace the letters." And of course, my husband, who the firm advocate that he is, says, okay, of course, I will hold your hand. And that is the story of my life. I can't even judge my daughter, because my husband has a daughter that is just like his wife. It's the hold my hand. I cannot do this alone. So what you'll see Katie and what you'll see Jade and what you'll see JD do is the hold my hand. I can't do it entirely by myself. Years of therapy of codependency. And you want to know what? I love my team for it. I want us to be able to look at our team and say, hold our hand, I just can't do this. So what would it look like for us to build teams in that way? You'll see a lot of that happening. I've told the team that we are 100% open books. You can't ask us a question that would be too much. The reason you came into this room is to get an inside look of how people do it differently. So on that note, welcome. I'm very happy that you are here. And there's this emphasis, or some might say emphasis. Where do we put it? What a day. What a day. I want us to be very conscious of the stories that we tell ourselves, because it's what you make of it. I want you going into your room tonight and choosing, despite it all, because we're going to have highs and lows. This is total normal mastermind experience. The highs and ecstasy of all these ideas, and then we have the low of, I don't have time, my team isn't big enough, where do I allocate resources? How long will it actually take me to be? Why are other people with less doing more? Okay, normal, totally normal. But I just want us to start by saying, what a day. I have a clear idea of how to get to where I want to go. So I want us to get started right. And I want us to do something different, because I've spoken to each one of you one-on-one. And let me tell you, the number one common theme that we don't have is blank space. Once I get this done, then I'll do that. And then other things happen and we don't have the space for it. So what I'm going to invite you to do, I understand the temptation to be like, wait, I flew all the way to Newport Beach to journal for 10 minutes. Oh, yes, you did. Hey, you want the white space and place to dream? That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it in small pockets. I'm going to ease you on into this. For some of you who are coming in from cohort 1, the joke was like, oh, Jasmine's a little bit woo. I was like, no. We've tapered down the woo. It is my job to intersperse versions of differences of the things that you're here to do so that you don't go home the same way. So you ask unconsciously for what you're going to get. So for 10 minutes, you're going to open your journals, or if you prefer to type, you do you. But what we're going to do, and I'm going to use an exercise that I used in a mastermind that I hated and then ended up being the biggest breakthrough for me. I want us to understand that here we are at the top of August. So if you look from January to July, that's 7 months. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to list everything you've done in the last 7 months. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to predict your future. You're going to list your launches. You're going to list your debuts. You're going to list your press. You're going to list your team hires. You're going to list the team fires of the person who just, every time you just looked at them or they spoke, made your skin crawl. And you're going to list all those things. And then you're going to run out at about minute 4. And we're going to keep you going another 6 minutes because this is where the deep work goes. It was taking on a project and completing it. It was having that hard conversation. It was how you rallied after a launch that didn't go as well. So for 10 minutes, we're just going to write down all the things in the last 7 months that you've accomplished. And then I'm going to come back up and we're going to work through starting there. I am going to ask you, and we're all leading up into like a very clear objective. Everything is leading us to an end result. And I've been told by the results of many of our print assessments, you women want to know where we're going. So we are going to a very clear destination, and it is a destination for us to, thank you, Katie, for us to have a very clear outcome and a prioritization of the things that we're going to do. Because right now you're coming into the mastermind with a lot of things to do. And you're going to lead the mastermind, and there's a very good chance you're going to add to that list. So what we're going to have a focused outcome would be a priority list of things that you can achieve when we're done. So until the end of the year, there's 5 months. We're here at the top of August. What I would like you to do is what must, now I know there's want, but let's hone our focus. What must get done by end of year? For you to hit your goal, what must be true? And then I want you to list them. And for this exercise, because the next step, I'll get to that, but I think it might be nice to bullet point so visually we can go back and address it. So what needs to get done by the end of the year? Just start listing. Let's go crazy. Let your mind go. Let's be free. But I want us to be very strategic. So here again, we'll take about 8 or 10 minutes. I'll gauge by the pacing of the crew. Here again, we have a break later today. You can add to this if you would like. So now what we're looking at is first and foremost, proof of what you can do in 7 months. And then what you're looking at is a desire to do something for the next 5. So I want you to carefully assess them. And then we're going to remove any stories we have attached to what's too much, what's not enough. We're just looking at the possibilities. And so now that we have what we've done and we have what we want to do, what I would like for us to do is for us to do something with what we call tech issues. There it is. Okay. 1 domino. I will often refer to this on the team. Sometimes I'll say, what's the one lever? Or sometimes, what's the one domino? What is the one thing in a system of operations that get us the greatest amount of impact? What one thing must we do in order to achieve the big end of year goal? So now what you're looking at is a list of what needs to be done over the 5 months and what things would alleviate the greatest amount of stress. So let's pause here for a second. I'm going to ask 2 people to write what they think might be or share what might be their domino. Does anybody just want to? And we don't need to do the mics because it's just probably one thing, and I'll repeat it back for audio. Yes, Helly.
I just did it already.
Great.
One is promoting somebody internally to marketing director.
Great. So Helly, in the next 5 months, would just happen. She's going to promote somebody to marketing director. Now, the challenge, the invitation I have for you is that person is there. What is a domino that when you look at all the things that you want to do for the next 5 months, what needs to get done first? That very first domino to push a series of things to happen. Now that we have a marketing director, That might be isolated. She might need to hire, she might need to have operationalized her business. I'm saying hypothetically. She might need to operationalize her business. And she also probably thinks that she probably needs an operations director or a COO, maybe, hypothetically. So what is the point of saying, I need to operationalize the business without actually having somebody to take it or work alongside her? So the domino in this situation would not be, I need to operationalize the business. That's one thing that we have to do. What's the domino? She's going to have to hire the person to come alongside her and or do it. Does that make sense? Let's try it one more. Talk to me, Heidi. Okay, no problem. Let's envision a series of 25 dominoes. And each domino represents something that needs to get done before the end of the year, right? So we need to probably finalize your live event for the tea party, right? There's gonna be tea party things related. There's gonna be a launch related. We're gonna have a churn initiative, and we're gonna get that evergreen funnel going, right? There's a lot of things that you want to do before the end of the year. But there's gonna be one thing that when you look at the list of 25 that says, this has to be done first. What is the point of executing on the Tea Party live event that doesn't actually happen until next June, when what we really need to do is, well, we need to address churn. And that was part of the 25, but what is our idea? How are we gonna really address churn? And if we went back to the edge assessment that you and I had, one of the things that we wanted to do was to get an evergreen funnel going. And you're like, I'm not sure this evergreen funnel is working. And then we dove into the numbers and I'm like, this thing actually might have some feet. So we have the party, we have churn, we have an evergreen. I don't want you to prioritize the party because it feels fun or it's a lot of stress. There's one thing that will actually push that domino and get the other things so that by the time you go to your live event and you're pitching the membership, you feel really good because your churn is on point. And how are we knowing our churn is on point? Well, we're gonna get an evergreen funnel going. Then we're gonna look at what's happening with the churn from that evergreen funnel so that when you pitch it next year at the live event, you feel really good about the time and investment. So what is the priority thing at that front end, that first domino that we need to push that would have ramifications for everything else in the business? You're what?
Mine's the dumbass deal.
The dumbass deal. Let's go. Hold on. Let's get a mic for the dumbass deal. Last time we were here, Heidi said she needed to have, Jade, can you get her the mic? Last time we were here, she had just bought a farm in Nashville, a lavender farm. She's gonna have her events there. And she said that I'm saving money for a cow, but just not any cow, it's a very special cow, and she's gonna call it her cash cow. So Heidi has these Heidi-isms. So we have her cash cow that's on the horizon, marching to us, if just like baby hairs away from that. And now we have the dumbass deal. Explain to us the dumbass deal.
So I was writing down all of my things and I need to make sure. So like basically the dumbass deal is I'm a dumbass for offering it and you'd be a dumbass not to take it.
Okay.
So I need Honey the Highlander to be a dumbass deal. I need my upsell for Honey the Highlander to be a dumbass deal. I need PPHQ to be a dumbass deal. I need my upsell on PPHQ to be a dumbass deal.
Dumbass deal. Great. Mm-hmm. So this is actually what we're going to be working into. So is the domino the dumbass deal? So let's ask ourselves, this is how we know if the dumbass deal is the domino. If we get the dumbass deal to work and off its feet, and you look at the rest of the 24 dominoes or however list you're like, maybe your list is only 7, right? Whatever. But if we get the dumbass deal going, does it impact everything after that? Or does something else need to go in front of the dumbass deal for the dumbass deal to really be executed? Does this make sense? Are we following along? Okay, great. So when we work through that, and this is where we workshop questions. This is where we really get it going because we have a hard time seeing the soda label from the inside of the bottle. Or in this crew, we have a hard time seeing like the sparkling water or green juice label from the inside of the bottle. So I know that dumbass deal is going to be real good and it's real important, but what needs to happen in front of it so that the dumbass deal is set up? And it might not be the thing you're being called to, and it might not be the sexier fun thing, but the domino is going to set everything else in a list of priorities. And so that's what we're going to do right about now. We're going to not journal or anything. I just want you to look at what you might think would be the domino. And if you're like, I'm not quite sure, okay, just put a little star against 2 or 3 that you think will be dominoes. And then I'm gonna walk you through a framework that we use internally to help us keep the main thing, even when it's not fun, and even when it's not sexy, and even when we don't want to do it. We understand that one domino topples all of them. It's our job as CEOs to prioritize what is that thing. Cool. Great. So as you're kind of just going through your list and you're getting those things ready, I want to walk us through a prioritization framework. Will this be the end all be all for you to walk home and know how to prioritize? Probably not. Will it get you started on a path that's sturdier than where you currently are? Yes. So I want us to have a very clear conversation around what is urgent versus what is important. The urgent is constantly getting your attention. The urgent needs to be supposedly handled right there and then. The urgent is a wonderful distraction. Sometimes it's really fun, sometimes it's very stressful, sometimes it's agonizing, but that's the urgent. The important things are often overlooked for the urgent things. Because the important, nobody's really on your arse for the important. No one's really demanding the important, because our job as operators and as CEOs and as visionaries is we know what's important. We know that where we need to go, but the team sometimes has a hard time understanding, seeing, or even getting behind because it feels like, oh, everything's on fire, everything's on fire. So what I want us to do as we're assessing the domino is understand that urgent keeps us stuck. I want us to understand that urgent keeps you in the business and not on the business. One of the biggest breakthroughs that I had when I was masterminding is how I believed that I had to address what was urgent because it would keep me from what was important. And then I quickly realized that when I focused more on what was important, the urgent stuff figured itself out. It was just like, sorry, it's going to get a delayed response. Sorry, I can't solve your problem right now. I'm sorry that we don't have the SOP that's needed. I'm going to get back to you the next day. It's just understanding we have to prioritize the important. So if we had to ask ourselves a real question, because all we need to do is have a lot of clarity and reality here, how much in a given work week, let's just say hypothetically 40 hours, we know many of us work more, some of us work less. This is not a right or wrong. Percentage-wise, how much are you working on important versus urgent? Write it in your notes, just an assessment, what comes up for you naturally. And I'm seeing business partners look at each other and give looks across the room that is just like, it's the Gettysburg Address of looks of, oh my God, oh my God. This has been interesting. This is a new experience. If you guys might be open, and y'all, I'm gonna be real with you so that you are real with yourself and that you are real with these other people, because we don't get rooms like this very often. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it 1,000 times over. Only 4% of business owners in America in a given year will cross 7 figures. 4% of business owners will cross 7 figures. 0.7% is female. And so we have to be so thankful that this room exists. We have to be thankful that we're in this room, but I am imploring you to please use this room for conversations that you likely 99.3% will not have with other people in your daily life. So let's have a little bit of a fun exercise, if I may, with Meg and Katie. Katie, what's your percentage? We're going to cross compare. And Katie, keep it real, keep it real. This is fun, this is fun, this is fun. Okay, so Meg, what is the percentage of I spend my time as co-founder and co-visionaries of this organization are you spending on? No, we're recording. Yes. That's why I'm so sorry. I should have done that for a little bit of housekeeping. We're recording everything so you can watch, anybody can watch this back at a later point in time. So what is the percentage of urgent versus important that you would say, what's your guess?
Together, or me personally, individually in the company? Like the two of us together working on it, or me separately?
You.
50%.
50% urgent and 50% important. Katie, we have a mic for you.
If you were asking me from the last month, 75% is urgent and 25% important.
Great. Our goal by just doing this exercise and priority is for us to focus on the domino, even if it doesn't feel urgent. Even if you're sitting here and saying, Jasmine, we got other things that are important. I understand, but urgency in business will always be there. it will always exist. So this is a first time accepting urgent will be there and choosing important. So I want us to focus on earning the results and not just getting them or expecting them. It's one thing of putting it on a list. I need to get this done. I look forward to getting this done. But we actually have to change our behavior to get an entirely different outcome. Many of you have been in business for over 4 or 5 years. And so what got you here and what got you into this room will not get you to the next level. So what does that mean? Ruthless elimination. Ruthless. And some people on your team will say, I don't know if I like the person who came back from Newport Beach. If they look at you and they say, you've changed, then you could say, thank you. I'm not supposed to be the same person. Ruthless elimination of things that are distractions. I want us to learn how to say no to our team members, to new projects, to anything that's going to get in the way of the domino. We have to please, I'm begging and imploring you, trust the domino. Trust that the answer is inside of you. And if this domino keeps on coming up, we have to say, I've never at once ever focused on something that wasn't on fire, that wasn't sexy or glamorous. It didn't really call me to it, but I actually believe this thing will have an impact on everything I want to do from now until the end of the year. Lastly, we're going to reprioritize our time so that the domino, because we've already went through the framework, is important. So we're going to reprioritize, even though we can say, I have a launch coming up and I need to do this. I get that. But you will stay on that launch treadmill if we haven't reprioritized where we're going in the business. We are going to sprint in place if we have not reprioritized where we're going in business. And I want us, lastly, to focus on results to push through the pain. Oftentimes, things come at a cost. And when we focus on the urgent with our team feels seen and they feel very supported. Because they're like, oh, I asked for this and Alex got it for me. I asked for this and Green did it. I asked for this and I got this feedback when I needed it, right when I needed it back. And so their urgency is not our priority. So when we are focusing on the results, what do I want as an outcome of the domino? Despite how uncomfortable I am, I choose this. And so I know that we're starting the day and everyone's like, whoa, she came out with a bazooka. I did, because there's no more playing around anymore. We are at a time at the education space, in the digital space, we are at a time where businesses are really turning upside down. And I will tell you that for probably 4 or 5 months, I felt really nervous. I felt very scared. I felt very uncertain with the nature of the types of businesses that we were building. And then what happened to me was nothing about my knowledge or the reality changed, except that all business owners are on the same starting line. Every business owner is looking at AI and saying, WTF. Every single one of us. I see people who are doing 9 and 10-figure businesses and they're making these offers for like $1,000 consulting call where I put you into a customer service line and then I run it through my AI end and that's my offer. I was like, interesting. We're all on the starting line. So if we're all on the starting line, ladies, hear me quickly and very clearly. We can win. We can win and we can win. The playing field is a lot more level now than it has ever been. And so what I want you to do is to focus on the domino. I want you to say it's important. I want you to push away the urgent because you see a vision of where you can be when for the first time in a very long time, the playing field is shaky and yet very standardized. What I would like to do now is spend a couple minutes on Q&A. And even if you don't have a question, but you have a feeling that needs to be out of you, please understand that we're here for that totally and completely. Any questions, any breakdowns, any confusion, if you are feeling confused or not sure about the domino, I'm gonna walk us through a domino framework real quick, but let's get the clarity. If you are feeling confused, somebody else in the room is too. Yes, Helly.
Okay, so my domino maybe changed a little bit because yes, Fiona is instrumental, I think, doing everything, my marketing director, doing everything that needs to happen this year. And it's already starting to happen with her in place and my COO back from maternity leave. But we are implementing Hallie AI. So now you're saying this, and I'm going, that might be the catalyst. Like that might be the domino. By implementing that, I think it's going to touch every single other piece of my business. And we've had this year that you're talking about that's like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. We're still making money, but we're not scaling the way that we had hoped to this year, right?
Pause.
Yeah.
Has anybody else had a year where you had plans to make X and based on about halfway through the year, you're not trending towards those financial goals? Anybody? This is very much the norm. Okay.
Yeah. And from being in Amy's mastermind and with other online business owners, I've known that. And I think that was my saving grace because I was like, if I'd been on my own, I would have been like, it's broken.
That's why it's so important that we're in the rooms. That's why it's so important in these rooms. Please.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, in terms of AI, like, do you have any forecasts or visions of how to implement it in a way that like we still want to keep the human side of the business. Everything is going to be married together. But I was sitting next to this random guy on the plane yesterday and he was like asking me what I do. And I was telling him, he's like, but everyone's implementing AI. So don't you think like even with implementing it, that may also just become something people like turn their eyes to kind of like, well, everyone's doing that. That's not cool anymore. And or it'll just completely take over. I mean, I don't know what direction it's going.
And the beautiful thing and the terrible thing is that nobody knows.
Yeah.
And so you're taking a strategic bet and we get to watch and have a front row seat and support you and see how does that parlay. Now, she educates people who are transitioning to a different level of professionalism as they become, what's the exact word?
So either feeding therapists or myofunctional therapists.
Great. Yeah. So she's guiding people in their therapist journey. AI for that, when a therapist is sitting outside of a parent's house and has a question, that might be a lot more useful than, Jasmine AI for somebody who has a social media question. We're not sure. But if you believe that by launching that and carefully framing the messaging, carefully framing the deployment, carefully getting in front of, carefully running nurture ads, carefully having content around that, and that becomes a domino that will affect the rest of your launches this year, that will affect the churn or not churn of the membership in the year, that sounds like a beautiful domino. And so what we just did was saying, okay, we have to launch Helly AI. Great. But what we really did with the domino is, what do we need to do to make sure that domino is right on point? How good and strong does the messaging need to be? How am I empowering my team to make these decisions for those deployment? That's what happens when we create a hierarchy of our needs to say, most time, greatest impact. I want to go back to that 5-month list. And you might have, if you didn't have a very clear idea of what your domino was, you might have a couple of initiatives, like 2 or 3 that I had said just a few minutes ago. And if we were to do that, I want you to first ask yourself if what you denoted was urgent or important. We need to make sure that what you select is important and not urgent. And we discussed what those urgent things could be, things that get in our way. And then of the things that you had highlighted, maybe you had 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever they were, I want you to rank those initiatives just by looking at a number and saying, this is my number 1. And you might think, man, number 3 is the most important thing. But if what needs to be true for 3 to be a success, we got to keep number 1 the number 1. This goes back to our ruthless elimination. This goes back to prioritizing what is important and not urgent. So as you're looking at your things and you're ranking them, if you have a very clear 1, amazing. If you're struggling with what it could be, great. We're going to work through that. That's what we're going to be doing here. And we're going to flesh it apart. And then through lunch, and then through happy hour. And then on the 3rd day, you're like, the domino came to me. Amazing, fantastic. This is what we do. This is the very thing you need as a visionary. It is to be this uncomfortable and get support from other people who see and understand those really tough decisions. So what we're going to do is the collective power of the women in the room. The collective power. I want you, and if you're not ready to, don't worry, we're going to have this easel up the entire time. But the goal here is for you not to have to achieve your domino alone. I want you to write your domino. Maybe it's to hire an integrator. Maybe it's to get an executive assistant. Maybe it is to nail down your messaging for your offer in the fall, whatever it is. But what goes on the Post-it note has to be clear. If you have to add an explanation, we're not putting it. Very clear. And specificity always wins. When you ask specific questions, you get specific answers. So I did this in a mastermind with a bunch of tech founders, and we did this exact exercise, and I put on that board, hire an executive assistant. And then what we did throughout the rest of the time were gentlemen who felt, yes, I was the only woman in the room. The guys would put their name underneath my Post-it note for an introduction they can make, a recruiter they can place me with, or perhaps like one of them be able to work with their EA because he was only working with her 20 hours a week. So what I would love us to do is to look at our dominoes. We will put them up on a poster board. And if you can help another woman in the room help push, strategize, or incentivize that domino. Katie, yes. Yes. Thank you, Katie. Great, because by the end of this, I'm going to encourage all of you to grab that Post-it note. And it's going to be on you to either connect with them here in person or set up some time with them or ask a question or ask them to make that intro. The collective power of this room is we have networks. I want us to make sure that we're leveraging each other's networks. So that is going to be the framework of how we're going to ask and support each other. But let's go back to Gree. Gree, you had said you struggled with what your domino was going to be. Do you have a couple initiatives that maybe are there that are vying for the attention, or you just feel like, I'm good, I have my, and actually, ladies, if that is where Gree is at, we're gonna clap her up. I love it. It's very clear what she needs to do. Amazing. I just like us to talk about prioritization. So Gree, anything that's popping up for initiatives?
Yeah, so I need the OBM, but I don't know if I need to fire the OBM I have for the third time, or I actually have to just make her better.
Great. So I'm going to walk you through a framework that a woman by the name of Teresa, oh, you remember Teresa. She spoke at our very first mastermind. I'm inviting her back for our second live event because the feedback we got from her was just phenomenal. She taught me this framework. Right person, wrong seat. Right person, right seat. Wrong person, right seat. Wrong person, wrong seat. Those 4 variations of when we look at our team, and I can tell you that when I look at our COO, I say right person, right seat. There have been times in the organization where I see this is the right person culturally, work ethic, they're freaking amazing, they have so much potential. It's just not their skill set. We thought that they would be able to be here in this way, and they're kind of very special. We have to put them somewhere else in the org. That would be right person, wrong seat. And so my question to you, Gree, is this person, right person, wrong seat? Or is this wrong person, right seat? I know that you needing an OBM is the right seat. We're not even questioning that. So we just now have to ask ourselves, is this, and we just have to know. We just have to know, is this person right or is this person wrong? And we could work through that. We can work through it. But oftentimes, you have to ask yourself, do we have clearly denoted KPIs? Do we have a shared language of expectation? KPIs, key performance indicators. So that if I had a key performance indicator, let's say with Katie, a key performance indicator is that we have emails responded to from the mastermind within 24 hours. That's a key performance indicator. If she's taking 48 or 36 or whatever the case may be, not including a weekend, to respond, this is a clearly denoted KPI that was missed. So where I want you to start thinking in terms of your OBM, are there clear KPIs that you could say, this is the expectation, this is where you missed it? If that's in place, you need to ask yourself, do I believe this person has the capacity to hit this KPI? If you're saying the KPIs are clear, the expectation seems strong enough and I feel confident in it, then what we just need to ask ourselves is, does this person have it in them? Does the time that it's going to take me to train this person and guide this person, do I think I'm going to get them to the KPI level? And if you think you can by putting a little grit behind it and time and intentionality, great. Then what I would do is I would put them on a PIP, a performance improvement plan. And you're going to tell them, I'm going to be spending more time with you because at this point in time you are with your OBM because it's going to be very important to your business, an online business manager, OBM, and you're going to tell her or him, I'm going to be spending more time with you because I believe that you have the capacity to reach this KPI and you haven't. So we're going to work on this for 30, 60, 90 days. I'm going to need to see this much improvement in 30 days, this much improvement in 60 days, and this much improvement in 90 days. And then it's very clear. And then you say, can you repeat back to me what the expectations are? And then she does. And then on day 30, if you go back and you say, great, you hit the 30-day benchmark. We're trending well. If this person does not, it's clear. Literally, people squeeze themselves out in a PIP. So we don't have to, and when it comes to firing, we're just like, well, it's just, we didn't get it. We have yet to have a person on a PIP go to 90 days. They know by 60. Everybody knows by 60 if it's gonna work or not. So my question to you, and this is a phenomenal domino, agree, because I know the inside of your business. This is the domino. Do you think this person is right person, wrong seat, or wrong person, or wrong person, right seat?
I'm not sure. I just not sure. I might be the one that's the problem, that I am not leading her well enough. One of the key KPIs she had was having hired 2 people within 60 days. We're 90 days in, and she still hasn't done it, and is always, not always, it's a lot of excuses why that's happening. But there's a new deadline. And I feel like that's her job and not for me to push it. So it might be me not being clear enough that it's been 90 days now.
Beautiful. This is great. This is great. This is a very clear indication it's time to put her in a performance improvement plan. But now this goes back to the domino. Who is the woman that Gree needs to be to hold somebody accountable? You're going to have to prioritize, and this grates on all of us in the room. Sitting with somebody else to watch them do their job and check in with them and have regular check-ins. Generally, when somebody's on a PIP, you're gonna have like a 3x more time with them. Sometimes it's 5x, depending on if you really love this person, you're like, you're so freaking good. I just need to get you there. You're gonna get them there, get the other way. But if you're kind of and you're spending 1 hour a week with your OBM, there's a good chance when you're in their PIP, you're gonna be spending 3 hours with them, which grates on you because you're like, when am I gonna get the 3 hours? Well, if you really want to determine and be very fair that this person, that you did everything you could to bring this person there, it's going to have to be that. This person has exerted 0 in self-initiative to identify that she has the capability. And so here's the thing. Who's more at fault? The person who's giving the excuses or the person who accepts the excuses without accountability? But this is not about blame. All we do is learn. All we do is learn. Most of us in this room were never taught this. Most of us in this room started businesses at different places and we just pieced it all together. And so, Gree, the beautiful thing about us working together now in cohort 2 is I know deep down you have it in you to guide this person. And I know deep down you're looking at, am I doing and being enough? So maybe this PIP is less for her and more for you. So that you can say, I do have it in me. I am that leader. I just now need to hire somebody according to what I've learned. The 3 OBMs who have gone before you have all been reps for you to establish what you like and what you don't like. Every time we go through another interview and another hire, much to our chagrin, we're just better for it. We're just better for it. We're hiring a team of closers for us for an offer that we have. And I just looked at the team and they were like, well, we just don't know if this person's a fit. I'm like, you're freaking right. We don't know. We haven't put in any reps. We've interviewed 7 people. What am I going to do? Yeah, I want to marry you. I don't know. So what we're going to do is we say, given our amount of information and given to our dedication, is this person a good fit? We said, okay. And guess what? It might bite us in the arse. And then we have another rep. This is just the game. So good things are coming, Gree, because it's only another rep, or you have thus proven to yourself that this person and your standards can bring you to where you need to be. So just for the next few days, all we're going to do is reflect. Is this person the person I want to spend 3x time with? Do I believe that she can get, based on me giving 3x time, can she get at least a 2x result? Can we see her moving every single month? Anything come up for you?
I think you're totally right. And I need to look at what I'm doing and say no to more things because I'm doing 20% of the important work and 80% of the urgency.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So that's where I need to put this as the important work.
Great. So then maybe what you're listing on your Post-it note as your domino, I'm just throwing a bunch of bad ideas out because your good will come from inside of you. But maybe your domino is frameworks for accountability. Ideas or advice on having a PIP, a performance improvement plan. Maybe you have a conversation with Alex, since her skill set is leadership, of saying, what am I exhibiting or not exhibiting as a leader that somebody would just think that what I ask is a suggestion? She might give you different insights that have an unlock for you. So does that make sense for our dominoes so far? Great. So there are Post-it notes on your table. If you would be able to write what your domino is, and we could work. If you don't feel confident for it right now, hit us up on the break. We're going to be going into a break. You're going to hit us up on a break, and we can help work through that. But the goal here is throughout our time together is to have your domino on the board and then put your name underneath if you could support that fellow mastermind member, getting them the result that they want. Does that make sense? Great.
So now I want to hear from you. What was your domino? Send me a direct message on Instagram. I'm going to share a few of the dominoes that I heard from the women in the room. One of them was to hire a COO. One of them was to ruthlessly prioritize what to get done and resist the urge to get distracted. I also saw somebody else write their first domino was going to be to hire a marketing manager. So I want to know, what is your domino? And I hope that beyond all else, you have a lot of clarity around what needs to happen in order for you to get it done. Now, if you need more time to think about it, that's totally okay too. In fact, our mastermind was 3 days live in Newport Beach. And there was some women who decided not to list their domino until the second day. So on that first day, I said, this is where we need to start. If we have 1,000 things to do, our greatest priority as CEOs and as visionaries is to know that if we do one thing, it triggers off a series of other things that are successful in the business. It's just knowing and focusing on the priority of which one. So by prioritizing your initiatives, it will help increase your productivity. You know what to do and when to do it. And then you're going to get those clear results sooner. Okay, so in a surprise turn of events, I personalized dominoes for every woman in the room. I knew I was going to do this exercise, so I bought dominoes. They're black dominoes with a gold numeric on the front, and on the back, I bought a gold pen. And I personalized each one of their dominoes. Yes, to hire a COO, to hire their marketing manager, to ruthlessly focus on what their priorities are. And I placed a domino at their chair during the mastermind to take home as a reminder. So even though I'm not personalizing a domino for you, you could write your own domino, right? You can write it on a Post-it note. You can have it as a screenshot on your iPhone. What can you do to ensure that your focus is on the main thing? Now, I always ask myself, am I focusing on my domino? And if I'm not, I need to say no to everything else and keep the main thing the main thing. So I want to say thank you for watching and listening to the Jasmine Star Show. I'm going to say thank you in advance for sending me a direct message on Instagram, letting me know what your domino was. And I'll also say thanks in advance for sharing this episode with a friend. Doing business is sometimes lonely and isolating. Doing it with somebody else who understands the journey makes life and business a lot sweeter. Again, thank you for watching and listening to the Jasmine Star Show.